Number 10. Secret Agent Matt. What if Daredevil never became Daredevil at all, but instead Matt Murdock became an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D.? That's the story told in this What If issue we get from Volume 1 of the series in issue 28. Here we get to see an alternate reality where Daredevil never even became Daredevil. Tony Stark happened to be the one responsible for the accident that blinded young Matt, as it was his truck filled with toxic chemicals that was driving through the city when Matt had his fateful accident. When he learned of what happened, he decided to turn over Matt to S.H.I.E.L.D., hoping that they could help him. Nick Fury saw great potential in Matt Murdock and trained him to become a secret agent for S.H.I.E.L.D. Matt goes on a mission to rescue his dad, who is kidnapped by Hydra, and in the end joins up with the S.H.I.E.L.D. team. Number 9. House of M. Although Daredevil wasn't one of the main players in the House of M storyline, an alternate reality created by Scarlet Witch, he still existed in this reality. Here Matt Murdock was still a lawyer and was even lucky enough to tangle with She-Hulk. Despite the fact that he and She-Hulk are both lawyers, they don't really team up a lot in the main continuity, nor are they a couple. But in House of M issue number 3, we learn of a rumor floating around the Jade Giantess She-Hulk that she has the hots for Matt, and that both lawyers have been seen canoodling in and around the courthouse. What a scandal. And friends, before I move on to this next spot, if you are loving this list and you want more good Top 10 Nerd content, you need to check out our newest channel, Top 10 Nerd Elite. Go on over there, hit that subscribe, go to a video and type a little comment and be like, hey Amanda, I'm here, I did it. Number 8. Dare the Terminator. Dare the Terminator comes to us from the Amalgam Universe and is a combined version of both Marvel's Daredevil and DC's Deathstroke the Terminator. A strange but cool fact about Dare is that she's a woman, despite the fact that both the characters that were amalgamated together to create her in this universe are male. Dare, however, also received her name from the fact that she is a fearless Daredevil who few dare to challenge. She had horns surgically grafted onto her head by enemy the Big Question, aka Enigma Fisk, and she is also missing an eye. I got of course she's an Amalgam character, so she's got a little bit of both things going on there.
Number 7. Watari. First appearing in 5 Ronin issue 1 back in 2011, Watari is a completely different version of Wade. He's the Deadpool of Earth 11542, referred to in this universe simply as the Fool. The story takes place in 17th century Japan. Watari was one of the best and most dangerous samurai of that time, but like Deadpool of other universes, he was done dirty. He was betrayed by his own friends, he was ambushed by his allies, and then he was just left for death. He laid low for a bit, not by choice. I mean, his face was scarred up, he now had an alcohol problem, he hit rock bottom, but eventually he found his footing and got that long-awaited revenge. We see Watari the Fool make an appearance in Deadpool Kills Deadpool issue 4, alongside some other wacky versions which we can get into later on.
Number 6. Belasco. On Earth X, there are actually a few different versions of Daredevil. Most people probably think of the actual character who appears severely depressed and to kind of crave his own death, who goes by the name Daredevil, but there are actually a few others besides. One version is also an alternate of Nightcrawler, Kurt Wagner. This alternate version of the character ends up becoming Belasco, but later settles down in Hell's Kitchen, choosing to operate as a hero for a time and protecting that neighborhood. So he's literally a red devil of a demon man running around Hell's Kitchen, acting as its guardian. A pretty cool Earth 9997 visual reference or alternate to Earth 616's DD.
Number 5. Tony Doom. Since What If is currently dropping weekly episodes on Disney+, we have to mention one of the more wild issues. What if Tony Stark had become Dr. Doom? It would probably be pretty bad. Yeah, yes it is. So here in the storyline that both of them go to the same college instead of Reed Richards being Victor's roommate. So now it's Tony. 2 geniuses in one dorm. Sounds like they would make dreams come true, but in reality it was a living nightmare waiting to happen. Doom tricked Tony into switching bodies Freaky Friday style. And on top of that, Tony's memories were also wiped. So Tony, in Doom's body, gets in heat for the experiment, and in turn, he gets sent back to Liberia. Meanwhile, Doom is in line to take over Stark Industries. He still is Tony Stark, so down the road, Doom Industries was now a competitor to Stark Industries. He's brilliant in any way. The pair end up creating their own armors. Of course, Tony builds a red and gold Doom armor, while Doom makes a green and gray Iron Man armor. I'll give you a second to absorb that. There we go. It's a fun little swap with good action, but it's a little bit too confusing of a Freaky Friday type plot. But it's worth a shot. Go give it a try.
Number 4. 1602. The 1602 version of Matt Murdock is kinda weird in the sense that he became blind and received his powers from venturing into a cave and eating green glowing goop that he found there. The whole point of this version of the story is to show how fearless of a character Matt was, but still, it's pretty weird, even given how fearless he was, that he'd ingest mysterious glowing green goo. That sounds like it could be slightly crossing the line from fearless to just plain stupid territory. Of course, sometimes those two traits do go hand in hand, so fair, I guess. Needless to say, it all worked out in the end, as that is where 1602's Matthew Murdoch, also known as Sir Devil or the Bard, got his powers from. Oh yes, instead of living in his civilian life as a lawyer, Matthew here poses as a blind balladeer, a singer, but in secret operates as an expensive adventurer for hire or a bodyguard.
Number 3. Deadpool Kid. The Wild Wild Wade. Okay, an instant classic. Deadpool of Earth 1108 made his first appearance in Deadpool Merc with a Mouth issue 7. When we meet him, he's wanted for bank robbery, arson, putting together a literal stampede, all that Wade goodness. It doesn't matter what timeline you catch him in, shenanigans are in order, clearly. This Deadpool would constantly talk about how much he wanted to take over the town. He had his sights set on Sheriff Fury and of course bounty hunter Logan. This version's quite interesting, but let's be honest, a little limiting what you can do in these dusty towns. So after our 616 Wade shot him in the head and left him for dead, it wasn't until Deadpool kills Deadpool that we see this cowboy again. There's not much you can do in the Wild Wild West. I mean, seeing Wade on a horse or, shooting up saloons, it's cool, but limiting.
Number 2. Earth 666. On Earth 666, Daredevil is a literal devil who dares to join the other undead heroes to assemble as the Avengers of the Undead. We don't know much about this alternate version as he's only made an appearance in a few issues, but we can assume his abilities are similar to his 616 counterpart, with one of the major differences from 616 DD being that he actually appears to be a real Red Devil with giant horns coming out of his head. You can catch this alternate version of the hero in the 2010 Secret Avengers series in issues 33 to 36. Number 1. Deer Devil. He's a deer devil. Deer Devil was only briefly mentioned by Peter Porker and hails from his reality of Earth 25. What's so strange about this alternate version of Matt? You guessed it, he's a deer, hence the name Deer Devil. Deer Devil's civilian name here is actually also different from the 616 counterpart, and it is Bat Burdock, and he made his first appearance in the Spider-Ham 25th anniversary special from June of 2010. Deer Devil was one of the heroes who Peter Porker got to know along the way as he transitioned from just being a regular young pig to the hero Spider-Ham. As Peter Porker reminisces on his past, we see Deer Devil's head among the other characters that Spider-Ham has encountered within his past.
Kicking off the list at number 10, Anthony the Vampire. Making his first appearance in Ultimate Avengers issue 14, Anthony was the greatest vampire hunter who ever walked this earth. He trained Daredevil, Blade, and Edward Cullen. Okay, the last one I lied about, but still, you get it. When he meets up with Blade later on, he has a new look. He was eventually bitten by a vampire, so he became their leader as well. The coolest part about Anthony is that he uses a Mark I Iron Man suit to get around during the day, so the sun doesn't, evaporate him or whatever. He captured and turned Smart Hulk into a bloodsucker, but his armor was stolen and used by Stick to fight back. Another Tony, another suit. Imagine you're in trouble and this guy rolls up on you. What a surprise that would be. Issue 16 of Ultimate Avengers opens with a great Twilight parody, but this is also the last time we see this Iron Man take flight. And that's because Hulk punched his head off, and usually when he does that, you don't come back, vampire or not. Number 9. Iron Lantern. From the Amalgam comic universe, Iron Lantern is of course a millionaire who is in charge of Stark Aircraft. While he's working on a flight simulator, it straight up took off and flew him somewhere else. Best simulator ever, if I do say so myself. Then he crash landed on the ground, injuring Stark, and he realized he was brought to a crashed alien spaceship. That spaceship belonged to none other than Roman Sir, who died before getting a chance to talk to Hal Stark. Not being in the best condition, obviously, after the rocky landing, Hal started working with his newfound tech on a new suit, hopefully to save his life. The Green Lantern upgrade of his suit saved his life for sure, but it also gave him the power to create anything out of green energy. He used a battery that reminded him of a lantern to do so. And then he went on to fight the aliens that had shot down Roman Sir and continued fighting enemies such as Madame Sapphire and Mandarin Esto, who, yes, you already know exactly what I'm talking about. Before we continue on with this list, if you want to go ahead and give us a thumbs up, that would be great. It really helps us out here quite a bit. You're the best. Thank you so much for watching. Let's get right back into this list of weird Iron Mans. Number 8. Lord Iron. Coming from Marvel 1602, Lord Iron was amongst the other heroes who rose to fame, but a little bit back in time. See, Captain America was literally shot back in time, so the Age of Heroes has to begin there. And in turn we get some fun versions of our Avengers. Anthony Stark was taken and held captive in the Holy Land during the English and Spanish War, a little different than the cave that he ended up with in our time. He was forced to make weapons still for them for weeks, mirroring Tony's origin in a fun, older way. David Banner was torturing him this time around though, so Anthony makes his own suit powered by lightning bottles. Okay. Now it doesn't matter which timeline Tony ends up in, he's destined to be Iron Man one way or another.
Number 7. Daredevil 2099. This alternate version of Matt Murdock's character comes to us from one of the 2099 universes. Sam Fisk in the future is the heir to the Kingpin legacy, but finds himself struggling with guilt surrounding that legacy. To counterbalance all the bad his grandfather has wrought, Samuel Fisk decides to become the new Daredevil in the future, becoming our Daredevil 2099 over 2992. Kind of weird to think that in the great Marvel multiverse, there is a reality where it is Wilson Fisk's ancestor and not Matt's that becomes the new Daredevil. But this weird fact is also what makes Samuel Fisk so interesting as DD as well.
Number 6. Earth X. Also known as Earth 9997, this version of Iron Man hit the pages back in Earth X issue 0. This time around the human race is at risk due to the release of Terrigen mists. So Tony decides, you know what, I'm just going to isolate myself, not being sure how the mist would react, which is a fair point. So in turn he would wear his armor all the time, then eventually he made an Iron Manor in New York. Super cautious, you know, with today's stuff going on, you can't really blame him. He went even further when he decided it was best to create his own team, the Iron Avengers. This guy was super paranoid. So eventually Galactus did come along, so Tony used his Iron Manor and distracted the Celestials beforehand. Now during this, Tony lost his life. Some wreckage impaled him, and for the first time in a while, Tony was able to breathe open air. How, you ask? Well, he died, and his soul immediately went to the realm of the dead, and that's when Captain Marvel's soul recruited him for an army set to take on death. Which is, first of all, nuts, because even after you die in Marvel Comics, you can't just chill out in heaven. You have to like go fight another war immediately. Like, come on. But Death did eventually die, and that's when Tony got another huge upgrade in Paradise. Using the High Evolutionary's devices, Tony was changed into this angelic being, of course, still with wings. And he looked like Iron Man, so that's fun. You can customize your own angel outfit once you get up there. That's good to know. Number 5. Evil Deadpool. Now these names may start sounding a little bit confusing, like Dreadpool is an evil version that kills our heroes, and Evil Deadpool is the result of a collector with a gross hobby. That's right, Evil Deadpool is from the main 616 universe. He came to life in Deadpool Volume 4, Issue 44. Now it all started with this young gal named Ella Whitby. She was a psychiatrist who was obsessed with Wade. She was so obsessed that she would keep body parts that he lost over time. He'd battle it out, lose an arm, she'd go in, you know, carry it like Saving Private Ryan back to her house. Some of us had a rock collection, others collect kneecaps. That's fine, we're all different. So she would keep these parts in her freezer like a maniac right next to the jumbo freezies, and then when Deadpool found out about this horrible cold care package, he threw them all in a dumpster. This was actually the worst thing that Wade could have done, believe it or not, because once those body parts thawed out, they fused and grew back together to make this evil, much worse smelling Deadpool. Number 4. Dead Man Walking. We look now over to Fantastic Four: The End, released in 2007. Most of Tony's story here was the same, but during the Mutant Wars, Tony lost his life. Now he didn't get redirected to a paradise where he would then become an Iron Man themed angel. Instead, he uploaded his subconsciousness into an AI. So now he lives through his armors, just swapping back and forth, walking around, which sounds like a solution, I guess, but living forever? Come on, Tony, I don't think that's a way to go, really.
Number 3. Kingpin. Never mind a reality where Daredevil works for Kingpin, how about a reality where Matt Murdock never becomes Daredevil and instead becomes a deadly assassin working for the Hand, who eventually rises in their ranks and, seeking more power, works for Kingpin, eventually taking the title for himself as he builds his own crime syndicate. That is exactly what happens on Earth 65, where Matt Murdock is more criminal than anything. He started out down the path of a hero, but after Stick, who took him under his wing, was killed, he fell into the hands, or hand really, of the Hand. This set him down a dark path towards villainy as he became more and more obsessed with power.
Number 2. Iron Goblin. Making his first appearance in the Spider Island series, Iron Goblin wasn't made through any reality warping or anything like that. Instead, this happens during the Resistance assault on Spider-Queen, which is sounding crazier than what I just said. Tony Stark ends up getting captured and infected with the spider virus. He's going nuts at this point, so the rest of the heroes try and snap him out of it by using Goblin formula, which is a solution, I guess. I don't know, read a book, read a comic book, Avengers. Something bad's gonna happen. So he went from being a spider monster to Iron Goblin. Pretty crazy 24 hours for Tony. Tony was still Tony after this point though, despite the evil green look on his face. Like he even said Norman stole his armor before, so he was just evening it out. Haha, he's funny, he's still Tony, nice. But as time went by, every minute that passed, that formula started to in fact change Tony. Like for example, he was flying around on the glider, although he can fly with his suit. It's not looking good. He knew he was going insane, so he sacrificed himself when the Queen's army attacked. Still a hero nonetheless, although he's mean and green and throwing pumpkin bombs. And finally, number 1, Iron Hammer. Coming from Warp World, Iron Hammer, aka Stark Odinson, first came to life in issue 3 of Infinity Wars. So when Gamora had the Infinity Stones, she trapped everybody's soul in the Soul Gem and then folded the universe in half, which resulted in all of our heroes merging together. Pretty fun. So rightfully referred to as Warp World, we soon get to meet Soldier Supreme, Ghost Panther, Weapon Hex, and Iron Hammer. Stark Odinson in this pocket universe is the son of course of Howard Odin, chieftain of Asgard. He has the Iron Hammer armor, and of course he has a massive literal hammer of the gods to get the message across. Being a combination of both, he can face powerful villains like Stane Odinson, who is a blend of Loki and Obadiah Stane, and even Madam Hell, one of the coolest looking versions definitely, and also one of the more powerful. A great note to end on. Number 10, DOGPOOL. We'll start off on a cute note rather. Wade Wilson of Earth 103173, aka DOGPOOL, made his first appearance in Prelude to Deadpool Corps issue 3. Wilson was a dog being used as a test subject for Mascara X. Now I love this version because it brings to light the animal testing for beauty products that happens, Mascara X taking place of the evil Weapon X in this story. So after the test went south, they thought the dog didn't survive. His body turned all corpse-like, it wasn't breathing, horrible stuff, so they got rid of it. But those healing abilities brought him back to life. He then broke out of the garbage bag and started walking around again. I thought cats were the only ones with 9 lives. What a sight to see. Now these circus performers did see this. They were driving by and just happened to see this dead dog come back to life, so they used it to make some moolah. He became the main act of their circus, appropriately named the Death-Defying Hound. He was a circus performer until Wade Wilson, the main continuity Deadpool, showed up and then recruited him for the Deadpool Corps. The good boy met his fate in issue 1 of Deadpool Kills Deadpool, but he did so saving Wade, so it's a happier kind of note. Not really, but we'll say it is. Number 9, War. Earth 16558, our Deadpool gets an extreme makeover superpowers edition. He shows up in Extraordinary X-Men issue 8 and we only get to enjoy his presence for 5 issues. After Apocalypse returns in the early 21st century, he recruits Deadpool as one of his 4 horsemen. He recruits him for war. Deadpool and the other horsemen attacked Colossus, got him on the God Squad, and then together the evil team tracked down Storm and their young X-Men. In Extraordinary X-Men issue 10, the X-Men were actually defeated and the Ark containing 600 mutant embryos were taken back to Apocalypse. Things weren't looking that great with Wade on the bad side. When the X-Men invaded Apocalypse's kingdom to try and save the day, Deadpool fought back and went at it with Iceman. Now Deadpool's mask gets ripped here, and then that's when you see Wade with his mouth sewn shut. Not again. We don't like seeing his mouth sewn shut. It's the opposite of what we want. Deadpool cuts his mouth open and you think he's gonna be like, help me, I don't know what I'm doing. But he actually just releases a swarm of insects all over Iceman, winning that battle in a gross, itchy way. But don't worry, Deadpool gets bugged himself later on. He'll soon know what that feels like. I'll explain more of that later on in this list. And before we continue on with this list, if you want to go ahead and give us a thumbs up on this video, that would be awesome. Those likes add up and they really do support us and the company. You guys are the best. Thank you so much. Let's get right back to this Deadpool list. Number 8, Deadpool the Duck. Howard the Duck has been seen in both Guardians movies, and he was in Avengers Endgame. We see him gearing up alongside Earth's Mightiest. This dude has been in the same amount of MCU projects as Natalie Portman. Well, actually more, really, if you consider the main continuity. That's pretty insane. He's an important character. So when Deadpool the Duck came out back in 2017, fans were excited to see more of Howard. Howard's driving alone one night when Rocket crash lands into his car. Now he's about to congratulate Rocket on his recent box office success in Guardians, but he's rudely interrupted when the raccoon's eyes light up red and then he leaps at Howard. We got a classic case of space rabies. Some spazies. Some of them don't work. Luckily, this is Deadpool's story, so he comes in at just the right moment, and that's when him and Rocket start battling it out. Howard's trying to smooth things out while this is happening. He knows something's clearly off with Rocket. He's taking cover, he's just trying to stay out of the way. And then Deadpool shows back up in the middle of nowhere, questioning why he doesn't teleport more often, which is a great question. And then when he tries using it again, everybody gets fused together during this teleportation. Well, almost everybody. Number 7, Iron Man Noir. Coming from the Noir series, Iron Man of Earth 90214 had to go all the way to Atlantis to fix his heart problem. What am I talking about? Let's find out. Tony in this reality was an industrialist adventurer. It feels like National Treasure almost. We meet Tony and the crew and they're looking for something called the Jade Mask. This mask that was said to cure any kind of ailment, so he figured, hey, it's worth a shot to fix the old ticker. It didn't work, so some traitors then revealed themselves once the mask was found, so Tony and Rhodey escaped and returned to New York. He goes on yet another treasure hunt with Rhodey, this time to Atlantis, because he heard a rumor that this power source could also do wonders to his heart, maybe, perhaps. Tony gets the trident and again, he gets betrayed. Zemo and his forces were strong enough to kidnap Pepper, and Tony and Rhodes need a new plan. They travel to Zemo's castle, and it's then that it's revealed that Zemo is actually Tony's father, brainwashed by Strucker. And he was also equipped with Iron Man suits because action and adventure. As far as Noir storylines go, Iron Man isn't my favorite, but the whole Nathan Drake vibe that Tony has is still quite fun. And also, Atlantis. It's kind of weird. Dive in. Number 6, DEADPOOL. In the reality of Earth 12101, the X-Men brought Wade to Dr. Den Brighton, aka Psycho Man, in an attempt to cure him. They wanted him to shut down the voices in Wade's head so he can be, you know, a normal civilian, but he didn't do that, did he? He actually did the opposite. Wade was now encouraged by all these voices in his head to kill the Marvel Universe. All those people, all those superheroes you love. About to meet their fate in a horrible way. He started off by going after the Fantastic Four. Reed and the Thing were gone in just a few pages, and then Sue Storm held DEADPOOL off for a bit by making his head explode, which usually does a trick for most villains, but it's Deadpool, so once he healed, she was next to go. Like, the whole Fantastic Four family's gone in like literally 3 pages. It's so sad. DEADPOOL then steals a device from Reed that he used to take down the Watcher. Even the Watcher isn't safe in this story, and neither are you. Check it out.
Number 5, Exiles. The alternate Daredevil of Earth 181 is a version we see in the Exiles. Any reality where Daredevil serves the Kingpin to me is weird, which is why this version makes our cut. After serving on the Weapon X team at the behest of the Timebreakers, this version was held captive in a crystal palace, instead of being sent home as promised. However, when he did return home, we learned that Daredevil on Earth 181 is a brutalizer who works for the Kingpin and seems to genuinely enjoy violently attacking his targets.
Number 4, Headpool. Wade Wilson of Earth 2149 first appeared in Marvel Zombies issue 3. The merc with half a mouth was among the population that gets infected in Marvel's zombie run, but then when he's transported to the main 616 universe, he gets taken by armor, and that's when things start to get a little crazy for this guy. He ends up in Savage Land, and believe it or not, the other version that helps main 616 Deadpool assemble the core that I've been mentioning this entire list was this version. The guy with no body, just a head, is actually the perfect sidekick. Minus the non-stop talking, of course. Number 3, Steel Corpse. Tony and his suit have always been so close, it's had its back many times, sometimes even acting for itself and making a judgment call. Like in Iron Man 3, it literally woke Tony up from a nightmare aggressively. We love that future tech. But in the Age of X storyline, the suit literally has his back as Tony and the suit begin to merge. Ugh, I'm itchy just reading this. This started right after a virus began taking its toll on Tony. He was rapidly declining health-wise, so he chose a more fitting name, Steel Corpse, to be kind of funny, but also he looks like a corpse, so he's like, nah, I'm just gonna admit it. He, alongside other, much healthier Avengers, were tasked to take down mutants, but when the gang got there, they of course opted to save them instead. Superhero twist of logic, we love it. Only Tony's advanced suit wasn't exactly on board with his new plan, and it started to act out by itself. It still wanted to save the day, although this was not the right way to do it. Captain America had no choice but to end the life of Steel Corpse in order to save the mutants. Number 2, Wolverinepool. First appearing in Cable and Deadpool issue 46, this Wade Wilson still gets the superhero upgrade, but when Weapon X decides to give him the adamantium treatment, things play out a little bit differently. See, later on, he's recruited by DEADPOOL, that guy I mentioned, to take on the Deadpool core members, so he's evil. He was doing a pretty good job, that adamantium skeleton was coming in handy, but during a fight, our main 616 Deadpool tossed a grenade full of bugs at Wolverinepool. Remember I said you got some with bugs earlier? This is payback. This is why you don't play with bugs. So that bug grenade went off and the bugs ended up chewing Wade apart, and all that was left literally was just that adamantium skeleton and claws. It's a pretty creative way to go out, but it's also like really gross. It's kind of like if Oogie Boogie from Nightmare Before Christmas were to take you out, or if that movie was rated R, it would look kind of something like this. And finally, number 1. Death Mask. On Earth 11683, Reed Richards was able to remove that lethal brain tumor from Wade's head, which opened an entirely new future for Wade. Now he was better than ever. There were no evil voices swirling around in his head. In fact, the only voice in his head was his own bright ideas. This Wade was in fact a genius. This keeps getting more and more positive. That's great. We love happy endings. Nice number 1 smooth landing. Did he solve world hunger? Did he stop floods? Did he cure diseases? No, actually, he was still a criminal, a master criminal, actually. See, with that brain, he ended up building an empire and went by the name Death Mask, so it was actually almost worse in this scenario. Just looking at his outfit, it's pretty obvious whose spot he's taking in this universe. He killed Victor Von Doom and changed a few colors to his evil getup, resulting in Death Mask, this red version of Dr. Doom. Even after Death Mask was beaten by our main Deadpool, it still didn't end. Death Mask then made a deal with Mephisto in order to release these horrible monsters on Earth and survive. One of those monsters was the Infernal Hulk. So he's full of brilliant ideas, they're just also evil.